Okay, good afternoon. If you've got a backpack, take it off because we're going to do some work today. How's everybody today?
Good, you?
Good. If your name tag is anywhere but on your shirt, make sure it's on your shirt. Thank you. Super. On your jacket's fine too. Is your name tag on? Thank you. Good afternoon, I'm Miss Hamilton, and I'm going to be teaching a lesson today. We're going to be filming, so don't worry about the camera. They're mostly looking at me and what I'm teaching you and your interaction with me. So they're not specifically looking at your answers and the things you're doing, other than you're making sure that you're on task and listening to me and doing the things that we're doing together. That's the only thing that's important during the filming. I'll be calling your names as I can see your name tag, so just make sure that your name tag is where I can see it. Otherwise, I'll have to ask you to move your hair and it'll be kind of weird on video. So just make sure that your name tag is where I can see it, and we'll go ahead and get started. So what we're going to look at today, you guys, is something called coordinating conjunctions. And there are 7 coordinating conjunctions that we're going to look at. And I don't want you to write these down, but I want you to think about how we put sentences together. And these coordinated conjunctions, these words, help us to blend 2 sentences. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that, and then we're going to practice with some sentences. So there are 7 words that we use when we want to put 2 ideas together. And those words are for, and, nor, which we don't use very often, but, or, yet, and so. And we don't use nor very often. We just don't use that word in English very often, so we're not going to really focus on that one. But I want to show you a pattern today that helps us to combine 2 sentences. So when we want to take 2 ideas and put them together, these words coordinate them. They put them together and make 2 sentences into 1 sentence, okay? And there's a pattern to it. If we have a subject and a verb, and we have that coordinating conjunction, so one of these goes in that box, and then we have a subject and a verb after it, then we need a comma right here, and that just puts 2 ideas together. And then the other pattern, and teachers, I'm just going to show them the pattern before we ever get into language or before we ever get into vocabulary. I'm just going to show them the pattern first, and then we're going to post this pattern and work with it. So if I have a subject and a verb here, but I don't have both a subject and a verb after, then there's no comma right here. We're just going to put a little stop sign there. And what that tells me is if it's a subject and a verb, something and doing something, something and doing something, then we want a comma there. If we don't, I don't put that there. Okay, so that's just a little pattern I want to keep in my head. You don't need to write that down. But I want to practice a little bit with some sentences. So you guys have been learning about Barrio Boy, is that correct? Yes. Okay, so give me a character from Barrio Boy, Vincent. Give me a character's name.
Ernesto.
Ernesto. He's the main character, right?
Yes.
Okay. So is Ernesto a subject or is Ernesto a verb? He's a subject, right? He's a person. He's not an action. And what might Ernesto do? I want you just to turn to someone near you. It doesn't have to be a partner because we're not in partners today, but just what are some things that happened to Ernesto in the book? Just talk to someone near you, and then I'm going to call you by name, so be ready to share. I'm going to call on you randomly by name. So what is something that happened to Ernesto in the book? What's something that he did? Okay? Talk to a partner or come back together. You? Got it. That's the one I always think of too when he goes in. Can I call on you? No? Yeah, I can. Watch me. Okay, here's lots of good conversation. Okay, someone, let's take someone in row 4. How about, can you move your hair for me? Just so I can see your name. Okay. Rosa Isabel? Rosa Isabel, what was the word you guys used? What did Ernesto do in the story? Nice and loud? He learned how to say butterfly. So let's just use that. That's one of my favorite parts of that book. It's great, right? So Ernesto's our subject. What's our verb? Ernesto learned. Okay? So we've got a subject and we've got a verb. Ernesto learned. He learned how to say butterfly in English, and we're just going to leave it as Ernesto learned. Okay? Let's take somebody from row 1. Anthony, what else did he do?
He walked into the office.
Okay, Ernesto walked, whoops, into the office. Okay, good. You guys have given me 2 really good teachers' text-based sentences from something that you've read before, right? This story of Barrio Boy. I love that you gave a location too, right? Into the office. And I love that Rosa Isabel said Ernesto learned to say butterfly in English. I just put Ernesto learned just because it's easier for us. So I want to just take these 2 sentences and put them together and make them one sentence. Why don't I want them to be 2 sentences? Tell your partner why I don't want to say Ernesto learned, Ernesto walked into the office. Why don't we want to leave those as 2? Just figure out why I wouldn't want to say Ernesto learned and Ernesto walked into the office. Talk to a partner and tell me why you don't want to write like this, and then I'm gonna call on you randomly, so be ready to share. Go ahead and talk to someone near you. Okay, let's come back together really quick. And I want somebody in the far row. Let's hear from Jackson. Jackson, why don't you want to leave that 2 sentences as a writer or as a listener?
Because it's short sentences.
Right. Yeah, it's short sentences. It sounds kind of silly, right? To say Ernesto did this, Ernesto did this, Ernesto did this. So these words here, this fanboys, they're called coordinated conjunctions. Teachers, I don't care if we call them coordinated conjunctions. We're just going to pick one of these 7 words here. And I think you guys can do this without my help because I've listened to you talk and I think you're going to be good writers. So with someone near you and you need to have a sentence that matches at least one other person's, I want you to use the word, I'm going to choose and. I want you to use and put it right in here. Okay, so take those 2 sentences. You don't have to write out both sentences, but I want you to use and make these 2 sentences into one sentence. Okay, ready? Can you do it? I think you can. Go. Okay, remember you're working with a partner, so I should hear talking. Doesn't have to be a partner, just someone near you. So your sentence has to match one other person's.
Walked into the office.
Give you 30 more seconds. If you don't have a sentence, talk with someone near you. Make yours match theirs. And I want you to, where you see the action, a word like learned, I just want you to put a little V above it so that you know that that's the action. That's just a verb. It tells us that there's an action there. So anytime you see an action in your sentence, put a little V above it. Make sure you have end punctuation within punctuation, guys. Period. What do you need at the beginning? Capital. Yeah. Okay. So put a V above any action that you see. Most of you have 2, so you should have 2. Okay, just shout out what your verbs are. What are they? Learned and walked. Good. Okay, so I asked you to add what word in? And. Okay, I'm going to add it in right here. Okay? And what did you take out? Ernesto. We don't need to keep saying that over and over. Okay. Who learned and walked? Ernesto. So anytime I have the action and I ask the question, who, it tells me who the subject of the sentence is. So let's just put an S there. Do you see the pattern?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So he learned and he walked. Who learned and walked, you guys? Ernesto. Put an S there. So let's look back at our rule over here. Do we have a subject and a verb before and?
Yes.
Yes. Do we have a subject and a verb after and? No. So do we need a comma before and? No?
Yes.
Okay, let's look at our rule. Subject and a verb and there isn't a subject and a verb after. What do we know about the comma? No comma. Okay, so if you have a comma, what do you need to do? Erase it. Okay, so let's do another one. Who's another character in the book?
Miss Ryan.
One more time.
Miss Ryan.
Miss Ryan. So let's change our subject to Miss Ryan. Just our subject, guys, not the whole sentence. And now let's change our verbs here. Okay, so I'm going to erase my subject and my verb. Turn to your partner. Tell your partner what Miss Ryan did in that book. Just turn to someone near you. What'd she do in that book? I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've read it. You're going to need to help me. Okay, Leslie, what'd she do? One thing Miss Ryan did.
She announced that Ernesto learned how to do butterfly.
Okay, I love that part. Say that one more time nice and loud.
She announced that Ernesto learned how to say butterfly.
Okay, so we're just going to keep it simple and just use the verb, the action in there, which is announced. So make yours look like mine. Okay, she announced. Do you remember that? She stood up and told the whole class. Ernesto learned. And remember he said Butterfly when he was learning? I love that part. Okay. Miss Ryan announced, and let me get somebody on this other row. Emily? Yeah, go for it, Emily. What is something else she did? An action. Yeah, she talked to him a lot. One more time, nice and loud so we can all hear.
She taught.
Okay, so she talked. So Miss Ryan announced and she talked. What do we need to take off, you guys? Into the office doesn't work anymore. Let's take it off. Okay, so it's a really simple sentence that sounds a little funny, but we're just practicing where stuff goes. Okay, what do I need here? I'm missing something. Help me out. Miss Ryan announced and talked. Look at the end. Yeah, you got it. What is it? In punctuation, that period. Okay. So let's look over at our formula over here. Which one of these did I use? For, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Which one did I use? Okay, and. So let's just put a little box around it so we remember we used it. Okay. What's our action? She announced and she talked. And what's the question I ask after the action? Who announced and talked? Who announced and talked?
Miss Ryan.
Miss Ryan. Okay. Okay. With someone near you, tell me whether I need a comma right here. So make sure you have a period. Tell me whether I need a comma in there. Look at the pattern. If it has a subject and a verb after, it needs one. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Okay, somebody in the back of the room, just shout out. You don't even have to raise a hand. Shout out. Do I need a comma?
No.
No, why not? Go ahead, tell me why not. One more time. Why don't I need a comma there? Because of the pattern, right? Okay? Because my pattern says if I don't have a subject and a verb before that and after, I don't need a comma. Okay, guys, I'm going to ask you a question. What about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, why?
It's because
Who talked?
subject.
Yep, you got it. So what do I need to add? just add that comma in there, and she talked. Now this one I want you to do all on your own. And teachers, the reason we're going to do this on our own is this is a good assessment of where we're at with both subject-verb agreement as well as coordinating conjunctions, which is part of our lesson today from StudySync. So erase your whiteboard. I'm going to leave up our pattern, and I'm going to take down our sample, and just to see where we're at, I want you to write a sentence that has this pattern, this one right here, because that's the first one that we learned, okay? And we're just going to stick with and today. Teachers, usually I would move to the next one to fill in a different one to make sure that they understood the pattern and not just for this particular word. So I want you guys to write a sentence that sounds like this about body of boy, okay? So it needs to have an action and a subject, an action and a subject, and. Okay, go. Write it all on your own. Any character from the story. Okay, I'm going to give you 30 more seconds. If you've already written your sentence, just touch every word and make sure everything's spelled right and that it sounds right. Look at our pattern on the board. Hope's going to help you. Oh, that's a good word. Where'd they go?
They went to the market.
Uh-huh. So once you add that on there, and they went to the market, just add, yeah. That is a good sentence. I see some really long sentences, you guys. It's good. They don't have to be long. They have to be good. Okay, are you ready? Okay. I want you just to read yours to someone around you and have them help you make sure that you have a comma if you need it, because we're following this pattern. So you need to have something that happens, a subject and an action, and a subject and action, and the and in between. So everybody's sentence should have a comma and an and. Make sure it matches that pattern. Oh, that's better. So it just straight and just add they, and you're going to have it. So just put in the word they above it. You don't even have to erase it, Michael. Yeah, just add they right there. You got it. And they went to the market. Yeah, you can rewrite it. And what do you need before the and? And it's going to go right for it. Okay. Just look at the model. You got it. And go ahead and just rewrite that last part, and you have it perfectly. And I'll ask you to read yours, Brian. Okay, I'm going to take a volunteer on this one so we can check your work together. So we need a brave soul who's willing to be, oh yeah, tearing it up, invisible ink, my favorite kind of ink. Okay, I feel like it's going to be you, Elizabeth. Do you want to read yours? Yeah? Go for it.
Ernesto went to a new school and he made friends.
Go. One more time, nice and loud. Great sentence.
Ernesto went to a new school and he made friends.
Okay, what's the action, Elizabeth, in the beginning? Ernesto went to a new school. What's the action, everybody? Went. Who went? Ernesto. And what was the second part, Elizabeth? Nice and loud.
He made friends.
He made friends. What did he do? He made. Who made? He made. Ernesto did, and so that needs the comma. Good.